Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's about noon Eastern Time. I'm Belinda Wasser coming to you from Connecticut to talk about this topic that I really love, is being a virtual assistant for you. So welcome, everybody. I'm going to just sort of hold on for a couple of minutes while everybody comes into the broadcast. We are broadcasting on 3 places in Facebook. Our YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, please click that subscribe button so you'll be notified every time we go live. And also on Periscope, which is live streaming on Twitter. So thanks for coming. If you're watching the replay, please add some comments, thoughts. If you have them, tag me. I'll be happy to circle back around and answer your questions. So I grabbed my cup of tea. So guys, grab a cup of tea and let's talk about being a virtual assistant. The reason I love this topic so much is that I think there are a lot of myths about being a virtual assistant, and we're going to talk about those. We're also going to talk about how much money you can earn. We're going to talk about how to get clients. There's really no question you can't ask me today. I really encourage you because I think when you're starting out on your own and you're starting a new business, it's really important to do it with your eyes wide open, to understand what it takes to run the business, things you have to think about, because there's nothing more different from a job than owning a business. And even if you're just working, just you and your clients, it's still a business and it needs to be handled that way. So today we're going to talk about that. All right. If everybody wants to put in the comments 2 things. One, where you are in the world and where you are on your journey. So if you're just thinking about being a VA or you've been one for a while and you need help, with a jump start, if you could let me know, that would be great. All these notifications going crazy here on Facebook. Okay. So let me jump in. I'm going to tell you my story briefly because we're broadcasting on many channels and a lot of you are new and don't know me. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to tell you a little bit about my story. So this is my daughter, Emily. This was us 10 years ago when she was 9. She's 19 now. And my life was kind of a disaster. It's interesting because before that, I worked in corporate. I had jobs. I saved part of my, my income every month. I had a savings account, and things seemed to be going along kind of swimmingly. I owned a home and or I owned a mortgage. And 10 years ago, I found myself in a place that I didn't expect and didn't know how to get out of. And that was I didn't have a job. I had not paid the mortgage for over a year. And as you can imagine, when you're not paying the mortgage, there's a lot of other things that are not getting paid as well. And I was thinking about it this morning. The things that were mostly getting paid were the things that get turned off if you don't pay them, like the electricity and the cell phone. But beyond that, I really wasn't able to make a lot of those payments. And it was so distressing because I'd always been someone who took care of my finances and, had things kind of figured out, and I was just in a mess. I had Emily 9 years before, and I had her when I was 40, and it was not easy to get pregnant. I needed a team of professionals, IVF at the hospital. I had like a 15% chance. And so the fact that she's here is a total miracle. And the last thing I wanted to do was shuttle her all around, after school, on the weekends, whenever, so that I could work. The job that I had before I started my business, Rocket Girl Solutions, I was in IT. And while it paid well, you're on call all the time, and she definitely would be shuttled all over the place. And so I had to figure something else out because there was no source of revenue. I had to tackle all of this debt that had piled up. I had to sell my house. I had to move. There was a lot going on. So, and I was getting divorced. Let's not leave that out. It was not the ideal time to start a business. I didn't have time to sit back and reflect on, any of the details really. I kind of had to hit the ground running. And part of the reason I think that my business has been so successful is because I didn't have a lot of time. I really needed to make it work. And I just didn't have that luxury. So if you're in that position and you think there's no way I can make this work out of nothing, I'm here to tell you that in some ways, I think you're a little bit at an advantage because, you really have to make something happen. So let me tell you what happened next. So what happened next was I started temping because I had a background back in the days when they called us secretaries. I was a secretary, and I knew how to type. I knew Office. I had some basic HTML, but not a lot of skills. I didn't know how to use Constant Contact. And when I started out, temping seemed to be a really good thing because I could choose which jobs I took. And yes, it was 9 to 5, but at least it was only 9 to 5. I wasn't working at night. And I started to build my confidence up a little bit. I still had a lot of things I had to tackle because the debt and the moving and, the divorce and all that stuff. But I started to build up my confidence in that I could help people, which is something I've really always loved to do. So I could help people, with their admin work. So I started temping, and then I decided I'm just going to start telling everybody that this is what I want to do. I want to start some kind of business, with the skills that I have. And one day at the school bus stop, I mentioned it to one of the dads, and he said, "Come work for me. I'm starting this new business. I need admin help." And it wasn't virtual, but that was okay because he lived in my town. And in fact, Emily's school bus stop was at the end of the road that he lived on. So I could work with him until it was time to go get her and then scoop her up, and then we could walk home from there. So it was really an awesome start. That didn't last long, but it lasted long enough for me to feel like I could pay for the groceries, which was kind of a big deal. So then what happened was a long time before, 19 years ago, I met Michael Katz. How I met him was I read his book. Someone told me about him. I subscribed to his newsletter and followed him for all of these 9 years. And then one day found myself at a wedding, and he was there. One of my friends came running across the reception and said, "Michael Katz is here." And so we went over, we introduced ourselves to him. And what we found out he was a really nice guy. And the next day I connected with him on LinkedIn, which for some reason seemed like a really big deal. I told him about wanting to do admin work. He thought that was a great idea. We made small talk. And then a few days later, he got in touch with me, sent an email, and he asked if I could help him pull together an event at Constant Contact. Constant Contact, I lived in Boston, and it's a Boston company, and he was affiliated with them and was having an event in their space. So I said yes. He wanted to know if I knew how to do credit card processing, which I understood how it worked, and I figured it out. So I went to the event. I sat at the back of the room. I sold his books, brought him his water, just was there to assist him. And after that, we were talking, and we realized that there were so many people who couldn't come to the live event that it would be good to have maybe webinars. And neither one of us, we'd been on webinars, but we'd never produced them. And he was willing to pay me to figure it out. And I loved working with him. So we figured it out, and we created a really nice revenue stream for him that still exists today, in addition to his consulting work. So from there, what happened was people, when I was on the webinars with him, he said, "This is Belinda. She set this all up for me." I started helping him do other things. His clients started to notice. And before you know it, they started to hire me as well. And I had a business. And so I'm telling you the story because you just never know, like the school bus stop and a wedding reception. I didn't even really know the people who were getting married. I was there as a guest. So, just don't lose heart if you think, I don't know certain people, how am I going to find people? Clients are everywhere. There's some things to put in place in order to get them. We're going to talk about that a little bit more today. Okay. So here we are 10 years later. Been in business 10 years. I've worked with over 200 clients, and working from home in the chair I'm sitting in right now, I have created $1 million, $100,000 a year for the last 9 years, 100 plus, which, equaled $1 million. The first year I did okay. I made about 70, but after that, I just really studied what I needed to do, and I put a lot of consistency in my business, and in terms of taking the steps over and over. And the steps that I took then are the same ones that I take now to have a continuous stream of revenue in my business. All right, if you guys have any comments, please just add them, or questions. I'd love to have any of your questions answered. So this is what it looks like today. Today it is, one of my friends said to me, she said this to me about 5 years ago. She said, okay, so if back then, 10 years ago, I would have said to you that you have a thriving business that supports you and Emily, that Emily is happy, she's going away to college, you live in this, beautiful little town in Connecticut, and you're like living with this unbelievable man who you really love, and you have a family together. And would you have, what would you have believed it? And I've always said, no, I wouldn't have believed that was possible, because all I could see everywhere I looked was a problem. The divorce, the selling the house, the finding a school, a town with a school for Emily, just like on and on and on and on. But it did happen, and all of the problems didn't go away overnight, that's for sure. But I don't have credit card debt right now, and I'm able to manage my money, and provide for us, which is really a powerful thing to be able to do. So, all right. So let's jump into being a VA. Okay, so the first thing is I want you to know a couple things right up front. We're going to talk about one thing in the end, but I want to plant a seed in your mind. The first thing is I have a free online classroom. It's called the Virtual Assistant Connection. You can find it on Facebook. I know a lot of you are watching on Facebook, but I think a few of you are watching on Periscope and YouTube as well. So I want you to know about it. Just type the Virtual Assistant Connection in the search bar at the top of Facebook and click the join button. This community I'm really committed to educating and connecting VAs all over the world. We have almost 12,000 members. It's growing very quickly. There's a ton of free information there. There are videos, articles, community. It's really it's really great. When you join, click on the unit section at the top, and I think you'll find a wealth of information all organized by category. All right. Okay. The other thing I want to tell you about, and I'm going to tell you more about it in the end, but I just want to plant a seed, is all of the things that I'm about to tell you about how to have how to run your business, and what do you need to run your business. I have a class that's starting tomorrow, and there's one seat left. And I just want to mention that to you in case you're thinking, I need help with this. I'm here to help you. It's called the Launchpad. You can go to the vaconnection.com, click up at the top, you'll see the word programs, and then you'll see the Launchpad right there. So you can check it out and find out more about it. And it's not too late to sign up. All right, more about that later. But for now, I want to jump into this topic as being a virtual assistant for you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about what a VA is. And the reason I think this is important is because I think that a lot of people who want to be a VA are stopping themselves because they think you have to be really technical, and you do not. Most of my clients are middle-aged, offline professionals like financial planners, marketing consultants, coaches, nutritionists. I have a client who's a healthcare advocate, really not into ClickFunnels and all that stuff. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. But the six-figure business that I grew, I've only had a couple of clients like that out of the 200. So, I help people with their PowerPoint presentations. I help them set up their MailChimp accounts. Some things you will have to learn, but the thing is that you don't have to be some young whippersnapper out there, with all the latest information. You do not need to have that. So I want to talk about this definition. So a virtual assistant provides administrative, technical, or creative assistance. So that could be a web developer. It could be a bookkeeper for that point of view. From when you think about it, it could be someone who helps with scheduling, PowerPoint. You could do graphics. I don't do any graphics. I don't do really any web development. I do update websites, but that's a lot of, copy and paste. I added testimonials to a client's website last night. Really, it was copy and pasted into the box, so not difficult once you figure it out. So the big difference here and the differentiator is that usually, not usually, always, instead of working for one person, you work virtually for many people, usually from home, and providing a wide range of services, or you can niche down. And we're not going to talk about that today, but when you're first starting out, I really recommend going, wide and broad to see what you like. Because when I started out, I thought I wanted to work for startups, and that is the last thing I want to do. We're not suited for each other, which is not to say they don't make good clients for other people, but that really wasn't the kind of work that I wanted to do. So just hold this in your mind that you don't have to fit into a certain little box. All VAs do different things. They offer different services, and there's not one right thing. There's really not even one skill. Well, there is one skill. The one skill that you need no matter what is, I'll figure it out. I got this, I'll figure it out. If you have that ability and that curiosity, you can be a successful VA if you do all the other stuff to take care of your business. But in terms of the skill you need, that's the skill you need. I'll figure it out. Because I'd say probably 90% of what I do now, I didn't know when I started out. I learn new things every single day. I learned something new today. So you just never know. Okay. All right. So here are 7 questions that we're going to talk about today. Now, these are my questions that people have brought to me over time. So if you have other questions, I just want you to put them in the comments. We'll answer them. But these are the ones usually that people have. So as a guide, I'm just going to step through those. But please interrupt me at any time. All right. I'm going to take a sip while you guys catch up and see if there's any comments. Okay, let's get going. Okay, question number 1. Are you ready to work on your own? Okay. Now, I did say that this is very different from owning your own business. From having a job. You're responsible for getting the work. You're responsible for taking care of the finances, and you're getting your equipment and all of those things. So you really have to think of yourself as a business owner. And the point that I want to make here is that if you think about yourself as like someone's helper, where you're kind of jumping up and down to get hired, as opposed to thinking about who you want to work with, the services you want to offer, thinking as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to be successful, because it's important to treat it like a business. I named my business. It could have been, Belinda Wasser Virtual Assistants. It could have easily been that. But we're going to talk more about these other components, but you need to set up a business bank account. You need to save for taxes. You need to think about how you're going to get a steady stream of clients. You need to think about your expenses. You need to figure out your hours. You really need to be self-guided, because there's no, boss watching to see if you're in your seat or not. You have deadlines and you have to hit them. And, and you also have to work on your business and in your business. So what I mean by that is, in your business is the client work. On your business is thinking about, your website, or if you have one, or your LinkedIn profile, or, all the different components that it takes to run a business. Okay, so self-guided. You need to also think about how much risk you're willing to take. And the reason I say that is because it's interesting. When I first started out, I thought, there was part of my thinking, part of the thoughts in my head, I thought, you know what, am I crazy? I'm going to have to get health insurance. I'm going to have to, take care of all these details, when I'd only ever had jobs. And when you have a job, someone gives you the work. There's all these benefits that come with it. But what I realized, the older I got, is that the problem with a job is there's a single point of failure called your boss. If your boss or his boss or her boss decides that they don't need your services, or there's not a budget for you, or the world changes, you're done, and you might not even know that you're done until the morning of, so you don't even have time to plan. And when I noticed that, I thought, okay, so this actually seems like less risk, because I'm in charge. Now the key is you have to be in charge, right? And one of the things that happened to me that it was really a critical moment. It was actually my friend Michael Katz said this to me. I was having this moment of, am I being crazy to start my own business? I said, and I have to get my own health insurance. And he said, just make more money and pay for it. Like, that was such a simple thing to say. And at first I was like, are you crazy? What are you talking about? And then I thought, he's right, because as a business owner, I get to decide how much money I'm going to make. I get to, and we'll talk about this more, I get to decide how much I charge. I get to decide how I'm going to get paid. Like, I get to be the rule setter. And so for my clients, and I'm not a fit for everybody, but that's okay, because I don't have time for everybody, but I do have time for the clients that I have, and I have enough people who I am aligned with to have enough work to make that $100,000 every year. But you have to think about the risk, because this is not for the faint of heart. You really, probably another big skill is courage. The courage to do things that are a little uncomfortable. The courage to I kind of think of it as stepping into a different you. A you that has potential, a you that believes in yourself, a you that is going to try new things. And so those are things to think about right from the beginning. So now let's talk about all the other things that are swirling around in your mind. Okay. What do you need? Okay. So I've already gone through, if you just joined us, you don't need 50,000 skills. And the answer to the question, what is the most sought out skill that VAs offer that make the most money? There's not one. I have a unique combination of skills that I offer. Some are high tech, some are low tech. It's really based on my experience. A client asks me to do something for the first time. I learn it, I do it, now I know it. I also, because I treat my business as a business, I use tools to support my business. So here's an example. I use Acuity Scheduler for people to get on my calendar. Once I set that up, my clients saw that I set that up, and they said, I want that too. So now I've done it for my own business, and now they see it, and it's a way to broaden your skills. So it happens a little bit at a time. There's no crash course for skills. It really is, where you are and what you want to learn. All right, so the first thing you need is a dedicated workspace. You need a place to sit, and it can't be, your laptop moving around your house or sitting on the couch. I've had a dedicated workspace from the beginning. I started out on a $19 IKEA table with legs you screw into the bottom. I graduated to, and that was in a corner of the living room, but we never used the living room. Then I graduated to an IKEA dining room table, because it's really deep and inexpensive, and I could fit all my stuff on it. And that was in the bay window of my apartment in the dining room, which worked. After I moved, there was another nook in my living room. When I moved to Connecticut, there was this little separate place in our bedroom where you couldn't see the bed. There's a wall. I was there. And now for my 10th anniversary, I have my own office. It's a little bedroom, and it's lovely. It's really great. But the first $1 million I made was stuck in little places. And a lot of my sort of office space was only a few inches wider than my desk. So it was really like a little nook, but nobody touched my stuff. I had everything I needed there. And it was quiet. I never picked the room with the TV. I never picked the room, where the guests stay. It wasn't until Greg and I became, empty nesters due to college that I took the middle bedroom as my office, because really I thought, why am I in a nook? There's this room right there. So we fixed it up, and now I'm, in my own office. But you do need that. And you need that before you have clients, because you need to set up your own business, and you need to do it in a place and get used to, working in that one place. You need to be able to talk about what you do. And let me tell you why. So all of my best clients, and 99.999% of my clients, the over 200 people, were referrals. Referrals are the best way to get clients. It's like they're pre-approved. It's like going to the wedding with your cousin's friend, that you've known since you were little. It's You might not know them. Well, you won't know them, but someone you know knows them. And they've probably most likely had a conversation about you. Your client has told them about you, or your friend or your brother or whoever. But there's been a conversation, so it's not cold. And you can sort of, you still have to vet who you allow to hire you, but to make sure that no red flags are going off and stuff like that. But it is a lot easier when people come by referral. Now, the reason you have to be articulate about what you do is not because when you meet someone, you want them to hire you in that moment. It's because you want to put a very simple statement together that goes in the back of their head so that when someone asks them for help, they can pull it out. So here's an example. Hey, Belinda, do you have a dentist you love? I happen to love my dentist. I'm going to go see him next week. My dentist is Dr. Stebbins. I love him. I love when people ask me, do I have a dentist? Because I do. Same thing. Do you know someone who could help me with my business? Yes, Belinda. Okay, because here's what I tell them. I am a virtual assistant. I work with solo professionals, people who work on their own, like marketing consultants and financial planners. I help them with all the administrative pieces of their business, like PowerPoint presentations, updating websites, and email newsletters. And then I stop. Beyond that, I'm going to overwhelm them. So you have to be really articulate about what you do, okay? All right, let's keep going. Pricing. Pricing is a huge thing. You also have to be clear about your pricing, because in that moment when they're ready to hire you, you got to be ready, with how much it is. And it has to be simple. If you start telling people, this package, that package, if you stand on your head, if you do this, if you do that, this is how much it costs, and then I'll give you a discount. If you start all of that stuff, it's a total shipwreck. So in the course that I mentioned earlier, the Launchpad that's starting tomorrow, we have 2 total hours just talking about pricing. We have a whole hour plus talking about how to be articulate about what you do. The whole course is 12 hours over, well, it's more than 12 hours, but it's 12 sessions that are between an hour, hour and a half over 12 weeks to handle all of this stuff, okay? Okay, where do you get clients? Again, in the course, it's all there. Everywhere. Clients are everywhere. You can't even believe. All right, let me think of a couple of examples of where they've come from recently. I had them in my mind and now I can't think about them. I just wrote a newsletter about it, in fact. Hold on, I'll get my brain back in my head. I got a client. All right, here's another example. My daughter went to driving school, and I really liked the woman that owned the business, and I love talking about business. And so I struck up a conversation with her, and I said, this was a few years ago, let's go have a cup of tea. And we talked, and she started to understand what I did because I was clear and it was simple. And she said, oh, could you help me with this? Could you help me with that? And I said, yeah. And she hired me. Other times, people come from other clients. They come from friends. I really wish I could think of that example that I wrote about right now. I can't because I'm on the spot. But, it's just amazing all the different places they come from. When again, your pricing, how to talk about it. And there's something else that's called the sprinkling method. The sprinkling method is something, it's relationship marketing. I call it sprinkling because I think of it as like, sprinkling you everywhere. There's a system for staying in touch with the people who are the ones that are going to help you build this network. I've never spent any time trying to get someone I don't know on LinkedIn to hire me. I've never prospected. I've never had to, I've never asked anyone, if they want to hire me. I've never asked anyone really if they know someone who wants to hire me. Because of this sprinkling method, someone asked me recently, and it took a moment for me to kind of catch up. She said, how do you find your clients? And I thought, how do I find my clients? And then I thought, oh yeah, my clients find me. They find me because, I keep in touch with people. I send a newsletter out regularly. If you look in the Facebook group under Getting Clients, there's all kinds of information there. I do informational interviews. I did in the past. There's a million ways to get clients, a million, and none of them are uncomfortable and or way out of your comfort zone. And I'm an introvert. I don't love going to big events and meeting a million people and handing out my business card. I do have my description ready. If someone says, what do you do? Boom, I'm ready. and I practice that. And if they ask about my pricing, boom, I'm ready. But I'm not, I'm not good at small talk, not a big fan and of, just sort of, I don't know, going to big events. I go to them, or I have, but it's never like, yay, I get to go and talk to 20 million people. It's like, okay, networking is good for my business. Get in the car, let's go, and I do it and I enjoy it once I get there and I warm up, but it's not like I'm running for the car, can't wait to go. And because I was a single mom and a lot of these events happen at night, and after school, whenever, I grew the business I'm talking about really from afar. I would go to networking events from time to time, or maybe meet someone from coffee, here and there. But for the most part, my clients are all over the country and, in Costa Rica and Europe and all over the place. And most of them I've never met, or I hadn't met them when we decided to work together. So that is an important thing to learn how to do. All right, let's talk about money. Okay, so how much you can earn is less about your skills. Ready? It's more about this. So it says skills there, but it's more about confidence, really. I'm going to tell you my story, but people are paying me on the high end of the range to be a virtual assistant, to do things that a lot of people think are worth $35 an hour. Now, again, back to the not fitting everyone. Several weeks ago, three people got on my calendar. So I have a link so people can get on my calendar for 30 minutes, free consultation. Some people call it a discovery call. And those calls are really just about listening to who the person is, deciding if I like them, if I want to do the kind of work, do I have time, stuff like that. I'm not like trying to get hired. I'm not doing some kind of hard sales pitch, but we're having just a conversation. And there were three different conversations I had in 2 weeks. The first one, the woman, we talked, and she said, how much do you charge? And a lot of times people are nervous about that. They'll say, you can get back to me or something like that. And I say, no, it's really simple. Let me explain it to you right now. So I told her how it worked. And she said, oh, that's on the high side of the scale. And I said, you're right. She is right. But it's, someone's joining us. Thanks. So glad my schedule allowed me to join in today. Me too. Hello. So she said, you're on the high side. Now, my instant reaction was not to say, I'll lower it. For you, it's different. I'll give you a discount. I'm sorry. The reason I charge as much is because I just said, you're right. She is right. She's right. But I'm not going to change my pricing. That's not, and that's where the confidence comes in. Now, the first 20,000 times that happened, I was probably freaking out. I'm sure I was, thinking I'm never going to get a client, blah, 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 but really. All right. So then a few days later, another potential client comes, and she's got this list this long, so long. And she wants 5 hours a month, and she wants, and so she wasn't disagreeing with my hourly rate, but she wanted to know if in 5 hours a month, I could schedule 10 meetings a week, update something, and do something else. Now, I am fast, but no one can do that. So I just explained to her that very nicely, that her expectations, that she probably wasn't going to be able to find someone, and that she probably needed someone for a lower hourly rate than I'm offering. And that she should expect that's probably going to take 2 or 3 times the amount of time that she has. So she was really excited. She had no idea how long stuff takes, because scheduling meetings, it's not like you email them once and they're like, yeah, Tuesday at 10. There's a lot of back and forth. It's like a whole thing, right? So I just use that to educate her nicely, and she was very happy. So now in the back, what I've got someone who thinks I'm on the high end, right? So, okay, I probably will never hear from her again. The middle one, because I'm going to tell you about another one. She knows that I didn't try to sell her. She knows how much I charge. She knows that I'm honest with her about what I think. Now, she might find a different experience. She might find someone who can do that. But she also, I think she had respect for me. So I'm in the back of her head. If someone else is further along, she was just starting out, further along in their journey, and they wanted someone with experience and maturity to help them with their mature business, that probably she'll refer me. The third one, she and I talked. She didn't know my rates. They're published on my website, and for a reason. And I said, would you like me to tell you about my pricing? She said yes. And her response was, oh, okay. Right? So 3 possibilities. One of them hired me. The first one was probably going to be driving me crazy about how much everything, how much it was costing and how expensive I was. The second one was going to be disappointed because nobody can do what she needed to have done. And the third one, we're having a love fest, right? So don't worry about twisting yourself around. And that's where the confidence comes in. And the skills, you do need to be clear about what you can offer and what you can't. But let me give you a hint. So go over to the VA Connection, thevaconnection.com, and up at the top there, click the bar. It says download the ultimate VA money making task list. There's 12 pages there, all about stuff that you can do right now that you already know how to do. Just start offering your services. Okay. All right. So again, confidence is something that happens over time. For sure. I was a train wreck in the beginning. All right. So let's talk about my story with pricing. So here's what I did. I had no idea. There was not all this virtual assistant stuff going on. And I think my lack of information served me. So now let's use it to give it to you so it can serve you. When I was in corporate, I earned $100,000 a year, like a little more. I had benefits, all that stuff. I worked for a pretty big company. And that's about $50 an hour. So when I started out, I charged $50 an hour. And the reason I put my prices on my website was because I had been in corporate and I had sort of, big jobs. I was afraid that people would think, instead of offering VA services and admin services, that I was like consulting and charging, I lived in Boston, $250, $300, $500 an hour. So that was not what I was doing. And I wanted to be accessible. So I put my prices on my website because I wanted, this is so kind of backwards, but it just goes to show you the world isn't always the way we think it is, right? So I said $50 an hour because the way I thought of it was, my brain is my brain. My brain figures stuff out. My brain solves problems. My brain has experience. Even if it's from doing volunteer work, it's in my brain. And other people thought my brain was worth $100,000, so that's what I chose. Now, if you haven't had the $100,000 experience, that's okay too, but you don't need to start your business at $15 an hour. The other thing you do not need to do is pay your dues. I'm trying to write a newsletter about that. Someone said to me a few weeks ago, I know I have to pay my dues. And I said, no, you don't. Like, who are you paying them to, right? If you want to get out there and you can confidently say $30 an hour for basic admin services, you can charge that. You can charge $40. I charged $50. I now charge significantly more than that. So people prepay my time in 5 or 10 hour chunks. If you buy 5 hours, it's $100 an hour, $500. And if you buy 10 hours, it's $90 an hour or $900. My prices have been like that since 2016. My prices were higher than that at one point. And I didn't stop getting clients, but I stopped liking them because they were treating me like, when you go to the attorney's office and talk really fast because it's $17 a second. So when I brought it back down, which did not end my life, when I brought my prices down, a couple of people asked me why, and I told them the story because, and then what happened was I ended up making more money with lower prices. Not really, I was a little busier, but I was a little under busy when my prices were so high. So that's my story. There's a methodology to raising your prices over time that I did in a way that didn't jeopardize the clients I already had, because keep in mind, I'm still, got the daughter, got the rent, got, all the things I need to do. And I couldn't I didn't feel it was worth the risk to raise my prices on everyone. So I figured out a strategy to raise my prices, and it was a gradual thing, because you want to be careful when you raise your prices, because that can be high risk behavior. I've seen people do it well, which is who I learned from, and I've seen people not do it well and lose a lot of business. So you want to be careful. All right, any questions about that? I'm just going to take a sip here. Okay, awesome. Okay, what training is required? Well, I already told you about this. So go on over and get that, that download at thevaconnection.com. The training that's required. So training and skills are two different things. Okay. So you can learn things on the fly. You can learn, you can figure things out. So like, for example, I did a webinar this morning on Zapier, and I knew how to do certain zaps, but I didn't understand a bunch of other stuff. So I did some Googling, and in a short amount of time, I was able to figure it out. There's also resources like the VIP Club. If you guys don't know about the VIP Club, that's part of the Virtual Assistant Connection. It's a paid membership. It's $35 a month. You can leave anytime you want. And there's like 45 webinars in there on all kinds of things, for running your business, because that's kind of the key. It's not so much the how to use MailChimp, because there's a million tutorials on that. You can Google it. You can find someone to teach you. You can figure it out. The challenge and the thing that keeps people, that differentiates, I believe, successful virtual assistants from virtual assistants who are always struggling, is they learned how to run a business. That's the big thing. You learn how to onboard a client. You learn how to fire a client. You learn how to keep your books. You learn about how to save for taxes. You learn about, setting up processes. You learn about the flow of the work, the flow of your day. All of these things are things we talk about in the Launchpad that I mentioned earlier. It's really the business of running the business is what sets you apart. And unless you know someone that's willing to teach you, it can take years to figure it out yourself. I was lucky. I found somebody who showed me the ropes. I figured out the rest. I adapted it to my VA business. And that's what the Launchpad really is there are some skills like MailChimp and WordPress, and we talk about Toggle and how to use it, and all the things that you need to run your business. But it's all around the business of running your business. Because my first client, Will, he had me doing things like going to the Apple store and buying computers. He's like, here, I need 3 of these. I was paying his bills. I already knew how to pay bills. Like, I had bills, unpaid bills, but I paid his bills. There were people who wanted me to put their logo on PowerPoint. I couldn't remember. I went to Barnes & Noble. I bought PowerPoint for Dummies, and I read it because I had time. And now I can do PowerPoint like nobody's business. All right, Facebook user. How do you price special assignments or projects? I don't. Everything is hourly. And I'll tell you why I did this. Well, there is one exception, because I want to tell you the truth. When I project manage websites, so not building it, not designing it, project managing it, make sure it turns out right. I put all the pictures in, I put the words in, I make sure it looks like the design, I make sure it's on time and all that. I have a flat rate for that, which is $3,000. And then the designer and the developer get paid separately. That is the only thing that's a special project. And the reason I did that is because websites that we build are expensive. And I felt like after doing them and charging by the hour, I realized that they pretty much hit the same number every time. And so if I can offer the client flat rate, and it also takes the stress off of me, because sometimes something can take a lot of time and I really want to do it the right way. And if it's flat rate, I don't feel like I'm doing it at the expense of the client. It's because it's my preference. And so that's just worked out really well. But everything is debit card now. So they prepay my time. Every Monday, I tell them how much time there's left. And I send them an email. And in the course, the Launchpad, I have or it's not a course, it's a program. It's really a program. There are 2 courses, and I'll tell you more about them in a minute. One of them is the debit card system. So every single thing you need to set up a debit card system. Now, I have some clients who buy 10 hours for a year. and we're good. They just want to make sure that they have access to me whenever they need me. If something pops up, they're already a client. I'm already, paying attention to them. I have other clients that have bought a debit card 10 hours every single week. I'm an integral part of their business. I have had other clients that buy a debit card every couple of months, a few times a year. So what happens by doing it this way, it takes all the pressure off, because they buy the time, they're excited about the relationship, but they don't have to worry about paying me every month, because my clients don't need, well, if they need me every month, it's not for 5 hours or 10 hours. It could be for 2 hours. And it could be that they're like, oh, can you do this too? So it just removed all of the friction that was there when I tried other ways. When I did flat rate for special projects, what I had to do was I had to figure out what the project was. I had to do research. I had to pick a price. I had to count on the client to understand what they wanted, which a lot of times after we're in there for a while, I realized, oh yeah, they have no idea. We're doing something completely different. And we would go out of scope, and now I have to talk about money again. So by doing it by the hour, everyone has been very happy. I've had well over 200 people buy the debit card this way. And my income is it's up and down, but there's like a baseline that I always hit. And I've just learned that if I have a really high month, like December is usually pretty high, because people want to buy debit cards so that they can deduct them from their taxes, which I invite them to do. January might be a little lower. It's typically not, because January is the month when everybody's buying their gym membership. They're like, I'm going to get my business going. So I might have a slower month after that, but for the most part, it's always been over $100,000. And there's a baseline that I pretty much always hit and can count on. So that's how I handle it. If somebody needs to buy, I've had clients show up and they had to buy 2 debit cards in 1 week because they got this big giant project and they needed my help a ton of, 20 hours that week. And that's fine too. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Can you work part-time? Absolutely. The key is to consider the type of work. I have clients so I have one client, I have 3 screens. He has a screen and his email's on there. It makes a sound when I hear it. At my next break, I look. He buys a debit card, every week and a half. The type of work that he has for me happens during the day, several times a day. When he sends me an email, he knows I have other clients and he wants me to, you're welcome. You're welcome. I hope that answered your question. Just makes it easier. It just makes it easier when you just do by the hour. So consider the type of work. For me to only work in the afternoons 3 days a week, for somebody that wouldn't work. So what you really want to do is you want to set the expectations. Really let them know, be honest with them. This is when I work. For my clients who need email newsletters, like Sarah sent me her newsletter last night. She needs it done by 10 o'clock tomorrow. That's a lot of leeway, when I can do it. So I schedule it in my calendar. I know when I'm going to handle it, and I get it done. And she knows that I'll get it done as well. So setting expectations really is important, and a consistent schedule, so that, if Bob were to email me on Monday morning and not hear from me until Tuesday afternoon, that would be a problem, because he's expecting, I've set the expectations that I'm there and I have a consistent schedule. If I only worked till 4 o'clock, I'm sure would respect that, or we wouldn't work together because we're not a good fit. And that would be okay too. But a consistent schedule is really important. And with a consistent schedule, there can be exceptions. So let's talk about that for a minute. So for example, I've been full-time since the beginning because I wanted to make a full-time income, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to work full-time. So there are times when I'm, have a meeting for 3 hours, or when I used to go back to Boston for a day. And in that case, I let clients know what the expectation is. So for someone who's expecting me to be, in their email every day, what I would say is, I checked your email this morning. I'll check it in the middle of the day. I'm going to be, out of the office in Boston for the day. And when you work that closely with people, you have relationships with them. So it's not like you're telling your boss, it's, you have a relationship. Like, I'm going to be out of town. This is what I can do. And you know whether that's okay or not, and you work with them. Okay. So let's talk about who hires virtual assistants. Seriously, everybody who understands what we do. Like, the people who don't hire virtual assistants typically are people with jobs, unless they have something, side hustle or something they want to have worked on outside their job. But really anyone who understands what we do, because it's such a broad range, and you don't have to stay in just this like administrative piece. So here's kind of a crazy example. So I had a client, his name was Jim, and my team did some pretty technical stuff for him. Like, we created a membership site, and my developer created this unbelievable newsletter, and it was like, it was insane. Like, I don't even think I could explain it, but this was a few years ago, and it was really fun, and I challenged me, and I really liked it. And the other thing that he needed was he needed someone to plan a party. Well, I can do that. So he asked me, will you help me plan a party? I'm like, sure. The party was in New York, New York City, which is a 15-minute train ride from my house. He paid for my travel. He paid for my train ticket. He paid for me to be there. So here I am, in his world, this pretty hot, ticket, technical person managing this really big project. And he trusted me, and he wanted me to go to New York. So I did. So I went down ahead of time and met with the, got the menus and all the stuff. He picked the food, whatever he wanted to do. And my main job was to greet the guests, make sure people felt welcome, to get them to sign the guest book, to make sure that his mother had whatever she wanted to drink. And we were doing videos. We had a videographer set up, and people were doing like interviews. And I was to make sure that people knew about that and to help them know when it was their turn. And I got paid my regular rate, had some good food, got back on the train, and came home. So don't feel like if I didn't want to do that, I wouldn't have done it. I would have just said, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't want to do. And I say, that's really not a superpower of mine. So, but I can help you find someone, or I wish I knew someone that could help you. Let's think, who could that be? So you don't have to be everything. Okay. And then here, specifically, small business owners, authors, financial planners, consultants, coaches, nutritionists, real estate agents. And I have a VA that helps me with the VA connection, because there's no way I could do all my Rocket Girl stuff and all the VA connection stuff too, because they're both time consuming. I love them both. And I've also had VAs sometimes because I thought I wanted to start an agency. So I hired a couple of VAs and set up a whole system for us to work together, and decided I didn't want to do that after all. I like doing the work myself, so I do all my own client work. But that's the scoop. So those are the questions that I had. And I'm wondering if anyone has any other questions. We've got about 6 minutes left. I do not know how I figured out how to make these webinars just about an hour, because it just happens every time. I think it's crazy how that happens, because I don't plan it that way. I do keep an eye on the clock, but all right. So I'm going to tell you about the Launchpad for a few minutes. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to this. I think it's a big deal to start a business, and I think it's completely worthwhile. It's completely worthwhile. It's really given me a wonderful lifestyle, the ability to be with my daughter, the ability to work anywhere, whenever I want, with whomever I want, charge what I want, make what I want. And I think the key is learning all of that, and I think all the information is out there and it's free, but it's knowing what to do first and what to do next, and in what order, and what you don't have to worry about. That's kind of the key to having a successful business. So if you want to learn about my course, it's starting tomorrow. It's right here. And it really is, if you're ready to get started, it's a 12-week program. It's me and 8 other people in a Zoom room for an hour, hour and a half. And I bring the topic. We talk about getting clients. We talk about how to talk about your work. We talk about the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that? All the what ifs, because I know you guys have a million what ifs. We talk about all of that. The calls are recorded. You have lifetime access to them. Also, all of the worksheets, cheat sheets, anything I use in my business, I show you how I track my money. I show you how I track my expenses. I actually show you my networking events. I'm just going to click there. Thank you. I have had doubts on pricing and your information put me at ease. Good. That's awesome. That's good. Yeah. It's just good to have someone who's been there before you, right? Just tell you, like, this is how it works. Anyway, so it's, I lost my train of thought, so I'll just jump into this slide and we'll go back. So it's really all about getting started, pricing your services, getting clients, and there should be another circle up here, which is managing the day-to-day, like really the ins and outs. Oh, I was talking about the what ifs. So many what ifs, what if they ask me this? What if we ask me that? We talk about client onboarding. There's a Trello board that comes along with this during the course. You get 2 30-minute or so consultation, talks with me about whatever's on your mind. Let's see what else. What else? Oh, so there's 2 big bonuses. One of them, and the reason I put them in here is because I think that both of these courses are critical to your success when you're a VA. One of them is having a skill which a lot of people need and a lot of people want, and there's no shortage of this, of setting up email newsletters. The other thing is that someone says managing the day-to-day. Yeah, well, there's a science to that. There's definitely a science, because especially working at home, there's so many distractions. And so we talk about that whole hour, managing the day-to-day, figuring out what to do. Like right now, it's like bring my family to work day since COVID. I can hear them in the kitchen and just like handling that, handling the workflow, because the work comes in through project management software and email and a text message and, managing my calendar and my meetings. So we definitely go into big detail about that. So the Done For You email newsletter system, the reason it's included is it's a skill that you can offer to clients, and it's also a way to grow your own business, because I'm a big, huge fan of the sprinkling method. One component of that is to send out email newsletters. And I know that they can be hard to write, and I know they can be hard to set up. So the template for the newsletter is included. You literally just pull it into your free MailChimp account, put the different components in, and I show you how to do that. And there are 12 newsletters already written that you can use, you can take from, you can split it into 2, use on social media, whatever you want. And they've been edited by a professional editor, so they're in good shape, ready to go. So this is something that I'm a very firm believer in. Lots of people have gone through this, and it's been just a big victory for getting clients. So that, and then the other thing is I've been talking about pricing and the debit card system. The debit card system, this is really step-by-step on how to get paid up front, the emails I send to the clients, the language I use. I even show you how to set up a one-page website if you don't have a website and you want to get paid that way. I show you how to use Stripe. You can use PayPal. And I talk about, like the whole idea of offering extra client hours to clients at the end of the year, all of that. So, and in both courses, I put the words you need, because that's the part I have trouble with. How do I say this, or how do I write that? And since I spent a lot of time on it, and I have the words, I give them to you. So the whole point of the course is to figure out how to get your business off the ground. I'd love to help you. I'd love to help you do it. So it's the Virtual Assistant Connection /Launchpad. If you're on the fence, let me know. I'll jump on Zoom with you. I have time today. We can talk about it. I'm not going to try to talk you into it, because I want people who are ready to go. We have 1 seat left. It's been, the seats have been going, which is really exciting. And I have these other questions, and I don't know, what time is it? It's time to stop. I'm happy to stay on, so I'll watch. If you guys start to leave, I'll wind it up. But if you want to stay, I'm happy to answer these questions. So how will it help me get started? I think we are pretty clear about that. I really start with, okay, we need to do this the first week because you're going to need this in week 5. So at the end of these 12 weeks, what I've seen is that people have businesses, they have clients, they're clear about the next steps, and they're ready to go. They're already going. In fact, one of my one of the people who took the class, Jessica, who I love, we had her session really early on because I explained, how to talk about your work and how to get clients. And she got a client before she was even kind of ready. She was like, "What do I do now?" I'm like, you're good. You're good. This is what you do. So yes, you can get started. And if you, show up and do everything at the nice pace, you can have a business at the end of this. I have had people who've been in business for a while. One of the people who took it last time, she'd been in business for 10 years. There have been other people who've been in business for, 2 years, 4 years. And she was good at the work, but she didn't have down the running the business. Oh yeah, can I place the link in the comments? Yeah, thank you for asking me that. I'd be happy to. Hold on, let me get my tea out of the way. I just have to get it. Here we go. Oh, you know what? I can't. Wait, let me try. Oh, maybe I can. Oh yeah, okay. It's not going to post everywhere. Let's see if you guys can see it there, because it posted on the business Facebook page. It posted on YouTube and Periscope. It did not post in the Facebook group. So if you're in the Virtual Assistant Connection or the VIP Club, this is a limitation of StreamYard. So, but if you go to the vaconnection.com, click on programs, and you'll see there's the launch pad with the rocket. Okay. And you can find out all about, I think there's 3 different ways to pay for it, by, over the months, all paid in full and all that. So some of the participants had been in business for a while, but they weren't on solid footing. They hadn't been able to figure out the business piece, and they had a lot of what ifs, and they were worried about them. So we were able to quiet those voices and, and get them on sure footing, and, in some cases, double their hourly rate, get more clients, all that kind of stuff. How much time do you think this will take until you sign up? I would say different weeks are different amounts. People have taken this course who have full-time jobs and they're just ready to get to the next place. I would say, the more time you put in, obviously, the faster it'll go. But I would say, several, 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours a week would be great to really think about everything, decide, because you're going to decide the name of your company. You're gonna, get your system set up, all of that stuff. So you want to be able to have a little bit of time. And I have had other people take the course, participate, knowing that they're going to start their business later, because you have access to all the recordings and all of the resources. And I limit it to 8 people because I want to make sure that there's enough time for me to really pour myself into the group. I haven't ever done it for more than 8, but I just have the sense that that's the magic number. And we've done it. This will be the 5th time that people have gone through the course, and 8 is it's been a great number. If you have to miss some classes, that's fine. There's a question. I'll jump right over there in a minute. They're all recorded. If you have to miss a class and you have some questions, I'm happy to jump on Zoom with you and talk about them. The whole purpose of this course is for you to get your business launched. That's why I call it the launch pad. And you also have email access to me. You can email me anytime. I'll answer you. I'm trying to think if there's other things that come with the course. So the debit card course, the email newsletter course, Trello board, the 12 program hours, 12 plus, lifetime access to the recordings, all of my checklists, all of my, all my secrets are all included. Okay. And we're getting started tomorrow. So the classes are Thursdays at 3 Eastern. So here's a question. How many people do you have on your VA team? How did you decide to add them, or who to add? Right now, for my client work, it's just me. I don't have any VAs on my team. When I did hire VAs in the past to help me, what I did was I didn't know about the Facebook groups and everything. This was a number of years ago. So I had hired in the past for some of my, my 9-to-5 jobs, and I had hired administrative people. I was the director of operations at a small nonprofit, and so I hired admins and like graphics people and So what I did was I wrote an ad essentially, and I I gave a lot of description because I wanted them to really understand what my brand was about, because I don't just need, when I work with VAs, I didn't just need help. I need a high quality white glove, highly attentive to detail people to help me. And so what I did was I wrote the job description very clearly, exactly what I needed, the skills that I needed. And I said something like, if this is for you, send me an email to this address with the following information. And I put it on Craigslist, and I'm not sure that's the best idea. I'm sure there are other places that I could help with to find VAs, but I put it on Craigslist, and 60 people applied immediately. And I learned a lot. One, I learned that everyone, an assistant that's virtual is not always the same as a virtual assistant. And so that was interesting because they didn't have their own business. They were looking for a job, and I wasn't offering a job. I was offering a part-time virtual relationship, which is different. I didn't want to employ them, which is, it's a different relationship. The other thing, the first thing I did was, and I used to do this all the time when I had a job, is if they didn't follow the instructions on what I asked them to include and how I asked them to include it, I didn't even look at their resume. Because if in that moment of them wanting to impress me the most, they were not able to follow instructions, it's only going to get worse. So that was the first step. And then I looked at their skills and I matched them to what I knew I needed. Because when you hire a VA, it's all about you. Whether it's my client, it's all about them, or whether I'm hiring the VA, it's all about me. It's what I need, because I'm there to be in service of my clients. And my VAs, when I've had them, are trying to help me be successful, right? It's not about them. And I'm not saying they're not important. I'm just saying when I get on a call with a client, I don't just start talking about my weekend. I ask them about their weekend. And if they ask me how mine was, like, it was great. I went outside a lot. That's it. If they ask me more questions, I'm not going to not tell them, but it's all about them. It's about their headspace, about getting their stuff done. And so I would look and, I would look at their resumes, their skills. And part of it was, why do you want to work for my business? Why do you want to work with me? And I read that, and it mattered. Why do you want to work with me? If it's to make extra money on the side, that's probably not aligned. It's not a bad reason, but I wanted to look for people that would grow and develop and wanted to be with me for a long time. And that was more of a reason to hire someone. So that's been a long time. I haven't done that in about 5 years, and then there was a very specific onboarding process, and tight systems, controls, in the way that I shared passwords with them, because they were my clients' passwords, right? So, using LastPass, being clear about how the work gets done, training them thoroughly. And when you do that, it can be a really good experience. It can be awesome, and it can be a great way to build your business by leveraging them. And there's some decisions to make. Are they going to be client facing? Are you going to be the face? Are your clients going to know or not? And then you make decisions based on that. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so a lot of you stuck with me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Consider the Launchpad. It's a great program. And again, after 12 weeks, you'll know what to do. You won't have to be on YouTube endlessly watching videos trying to piece it together. You'll know what to do. I'll try to, I think I can do that. I have video interviews with a whole bunch of people who have taken the class already, and I've been playing them a little bit on Facebook in a watch party, and I've been putting some testimonials up. I'll do a little bit more of that later today, so keep an eye out for that. And again, let me do this. Hold on. I forgot. I didn't forget. I didn't plan on it, and I just remembered. There's my cell phone number. If you want to talk about this, to find out if it's for you, shoot me a text. My phone is right here, and I will, we'll jump on Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever you want to do. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about what your needs are, and does the class address that? And the people that are already signed up are awesome. So if you'd like to join us, that would be great. Just let me know. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. And let's see if there's any more comments. No. All right. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.